ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नमः श्री शंकरानंद नमः श्री शंकरानंद गुरुपादाम्बुजन्मने गुरुपादाम्बुजन्मने सविलास महामोह सविलास महामोह ग्राहग्रासैककर्मणे ग्राहग्रासैककर्मणे। Yesterday in the fifth verse we discussed Anandam Brahma Vidwan na vibheti kutaschana. How the Shruti very clearly says that one who knows Brahman, which is of the nature of Ananda, na vibheti kutaschana, then there is no fear from any source whatever, any source of fear in this world or in another world. The Vidwan, meaning the wise man, becomes free from all sources of fear, becomes fearless. Then the question was asked, how do you say that even the wise man does not have fear? Maybe he does not have fear from external sources, but there will be fear from within. Everybody has fear of doing something that one should not do. So there is always a fear from Papa. And Papa means a sin. And even Punya. Punya means a virtue. If one fails to do what one should do, then also there is a sense of regret. And if one does something that one should not do, then also there is a sense of regret. So that kind of everyone wants to avoid that. So there is a fear. That's the reason why we are always careful in doing anything. That I always take care to see that I don't do something which will be bad, which will hurt somebody, or which would be called a sin. Or I must make sure that I don't fail to do what is proper to do in a given situation. All conscientious people are careful about this, and so wise man also would be definitely concerned about it, and therefore he would also have fear. Says no, even that fear also the wise does not have. Etameva tapennaisha chinta karmagni sambrita. Esha karmagni sambrita chinta. This chinta, often this chinta means a worry. And often it's so, chinta is worry. And often is compared to chitta, meaning the funeral fire. So chitta means funeral fire, means fire. And chinta means worry. Often they compare this chinta with chitta. Because worry also is like fire, slow fire which burns a person. Worries and anxieties. And of course the funeral fire is fire and that also burns. One is an external fire, other is an internal fire. And therefore this chinta also is compared to fire. Because just as the fire scorches a person, so also this internal fire of chinta, the worries and anxieties, also scorches a person. That sense of guilt, or the sense of repenting, a sense of regret rather. So the wise man doesn't have this chinta. Punyam nakaram kasmat papam tu krutavan kudaha. How come I fail to perform that punya karma? And how can I perform this papa karma? This kind of a chinta or anxiety or the worry or the regret the wise man does not have. So even that also does not scorch the wise man. With which the ignorant person is constantly scorched, the sense of guilt, etc. That the wise man does not have. How come he does not have? How come wise man doesn't have any guilt? How come he is not worried about inadvertently performing some papa karma or failing to perform punya karma? How come that does not worry him? Continuing the discussion, in the sixth verse it is said, punya papayoho atapakatve. See in the last paragraph of page 367 in this book. Punya papayoho atapakatve hetu pradarshana param स एवं विद्वान एते आत्मानग्रस प्रणुते उभयश्यवैष एते आत्मानग्ग स्पृणते इति वाक्यम वाक्यद्वयम अर्थतः पठते. Says Upanishad itself gives the reason for it. First Upanishad says etagum havavan tapadi kimaham sadhuna karavam kimaham papam karavamiri. Taittiriya Upanishad says that this one does not scorch the vidwan, the wise man, why I performed a papa karma or why I failed to perform the punya karma. This thing does not scorch the wise man. Why? Sa evam vidvanete atmanagga spranate ubhayhyevayshete atmanagga spranate. Because the wise man sees this punya and papa as the very self. The thing is, what we call the punya, number one, the wise man sees both punya and papa as mithya. And secondly, he knows the punya and papa karma also is not separate from the self. And therefore, there is no cause of fear. And these two statements are explained in the verse 6 here. Evam vidvan karmani dve hitvatmanam smaret sada krate cha karmani swatma rupenaivaisha pashyati. Evam vidvan, the one who knows thus. Again referring to Taittiriya Upanishad. What is the nature of knowledge that the wise man has? Taittiriya Upanishad describes that. Sayaschayam purushe yaschasavaditye sa ekaha. Sayaschayam purushe, that consciousness which is in this individual, the self that is in this individual, yascha asau aditye, and the self that is in the sun, where the sun stands for the principle of creation. Sun stands for what we call Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha means the creator, meaning the totality of all the subtle bodies. So this statement is like this, that the self that is here in me, the individual, is the self that is in Aditya or the sun in the total. So Vyashti and Samashti, these expressions we came across in Vedanta Sara. Vyashti means the individual and the Samashti means the aggregate, like the tree and the forest. So tree is the individual member and the forest is the aggregate of all the trees. So the principle that is in the tree also is a principle in the whole forest. Like the wood, which is the truth of the tree, is also the truth of the whole forest. Similarly also, whatever is the truth of the individual, namely the self, is also the truth of the totality. Because the same self appears as the individual and appears as the total. The self is called individual from the standpoint of this upadhi, this individual body, and the self is called totala Ishvara or creator with reference to the total upadhi, the totality of all the names and forms, but then the principle is the same. Just as the truth of one wave is also the truth of the whole ocean, which is water, and this is the nature of the knowledge of the wise man. Sayaschayam purushe yascha savaditye saekaha. The one who is in this person, in this individual, and the one who is in the total, that is ekaha, there is one alone. Evam vidvan, so one who knows the self in this manner. Sayakaschit puvan evam ukta prakarena vidvan. So janan, one who knows, pravartate. So when he knows thus that the self of me is the self of all, there is only one self, non-dual, and that is the self of the individual and also the self of the total. Karmani dvehitva atmanam smaret sada. He gives up these two karmas. Sahayate punyapape hitva iti adhyahara. It is the Vidwan, the wise man, discards both the karma, both the actions called punya and papa, the virtue and vice. Because atmanagga sprunate, atmanam brahma vinnam pratyancham sprunate prinati sada smare ityartha. In short, the wise man, having discarded this whole idea of karma, punya and papa karma, he only remembers the self. So, this karma or action does not even occupy the mind of the wise man, because his mind is all the time centered or focused upon the self. Why is it so? Yataha punya papayoho mithyatva anusandhanena hanam kritam. Because he knows the punya karma and the papa karma both as mithya. See, what is mithya? The kartrutvam, the sense of doership is mithya. This is the knowledge. So knowledge is that I take myself to be karta or a doer. This is false, this is wrong. Because doership is in the mind. And the doership that is in the mind is superimposed upon the self. And therefore, individual person takes himself or herself as karta or a doer, agent of action. So wise man knows that the sense of agency is false. And therefore, the actions performed are also false. Just as when you wake up from the dream, and now look at the dream from the standpoint of the waking, then I know that the dreamer was false. And therefore all the actions performed by the dreamer also are false. So how the waker falsifies all the actions performed in the dream? But when are these actions falsified? When first the very actor or the very agent to perform the actions in the dream is falsified. The waker knows that the dreamer was an imaginary or false entity, and therefore the actions performed by him were also false. Similarly also, the wise man knows that this ahankara, the agent, the individual is false, and therefore actions performed by him are also false, and therefore he does not identify himself with action. An ordinary person identifies himself with action and says, I am performing the action. And when I am the doer of the action, then I have a responsibility to the action also. Meaning that if I am the performer of the action, then I am also connected to, or I am also bound by the result of the action. Whoever performs the action is bound by the result of the action. And nobody wants pain. Everybody wants pleasure or happiness, and nobody wants pain. That's the reason why everybody wants to perform what we call punya karma, or the virtuous action. And we know that the papa or sin will bring pain, and therefore one wants to avoid the papa karma. So one who takes oneself as an agent or a doer of the action has to conscientiously perform the action that is called virtue and conscientiously avoid the action that is called papa or sin. Wise man doesn't take himself to be the doer of an action. Meaning very doership itself is falsified. And therefore, if you are not connected, the only thing that connects the self with the action is a sense of doership. Otherwise self cannot be connected or tainted by anything. But the only thing that taints the self is what we call the sense of doership. It is sense of doership that connects me with the action. And therefore, the sense of enjoyership connects me with the result of action. So, kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam, doership and enjoyership. When I perform the action, I am the doer of the action. And when the result of the action comes, then I experience the result of the action, then I am the enjoyer. So the Atma becomes doer while performing the action and becomes enjoyer while experiencing the result of the action. Wise man knows that both the doer and the enjoyer are products of only Brahma or delusion, and therefore they have been falsified. That's the reason why while performing the action he doesn't have this identification that I am performing action, and while experiencing the result he doesn't have this kind of a notion that I am experiencing the result either. He knows himself as the very witness of the action as well as experiences. And so when he does not perform the action, there is the question of his having to experience the result of the action. And so, yataha punya papayoho mithyatva anusandhanena Khanam Kritam. Since by knowing that punya and papa, both the karmas are mithya, because the doer is mithya, and therefore the actions performed by him are also mithya. Mithya means unreal. Atah tadvishaya chintaya nasti, and therefore he doesn't have any worries or anxiety of performing the karma. That I should perform the right karma, I should avoid the wrong karma, this kind of an anxiety itself is not there. Kutaha tannimittakaha tapaha. And then, how can he have any kind of pain or suffering or scorching on account of this chinta? So this is one reason why the wise man has no worries or sense of regret or a sense of guilt or whatever, for the simple reason that he does not have the sense of doership. And therefore, when the doership does not occupy his mind, what occupies his mind? His mind is always centered upon the self. My mind is centered upon the doership. I am doing this, I am doing this, I am doing this. And when the results come to me, I am the enjoyer. And so, for an ignorant person, the mind is focused upon the doer and the enjoyer. The wise man knows them both to be false, and therefore, his mind is always focused upon the self. So it says, Atmanam smaret sada. The wise man always remembers the self, meaning his mind is always focused upon the self, neither on the doer nor on the enjoyer, because he knows them both to be mithya or unreal. That's one reason why the wise man does not have any worries pertaining to the action. Then the second line of the verse gives us another reason. Krutecha karmani swatma rupena vaisha pashyati. Kinchan, furthermore, esha vidwan ete purokte ubhe punya papa rupe karmani. And also again, dehendriyadi pravritya janite. And again, secondly, now there is another nice thing, that when you say that the world is mithya, or the doership is mithya, and therefore action and the results are also mithya. So, in what category this mithya is? Does the wise man see them as something separate from the self? He says, no, the mithya meaning it doesn't have a separate self, that I am the self. And therefore, he doesn't look upon the karma or the karma phala as separate from himself. So don't think that mithya or unreal is a separate category. When it says the world is unreal, it means that the world is not apart from the self. So wise man sees everything as the self, including the punya karma and papa karma. All of these are seen as the self. So these actions called punya and papa, dehendriyadi pravritya janite, which are born or performed as a result of the activities of body and the sense organs. Punya papa rupe karmani, and which can be classified as punya karma or papa karma. All this swatma rupena eva eshaha pashyati. He sees them only as the very self. Idam sarvam yadayam atma, says Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Idam sarvam, whatever this is atma. Whatever there is nothing but the self. Like the water may say, all these waves and all these breakers and all of this is nothing but the self. And similarly also the wise man knows that the self is the truth of everything. What we call punya, papa, all of this is superimposed upon the very same self. Just as a snake or a garland are superimposed upon the rope, and so also all these ideas are superimposed upon the self, and therefore one who knows the rope knows that to be the self of the garland or the snake, and so also the wise man knows himself as the self of this punya and papa, and therefore he doesn't see them as separate from himself. And there cannot be anxiety from the self, there cannot be fear from the self, since everything is the self for him. This is what Ishavasya Upanishad also says. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhut vijanatah tatra ko moha kasyokah ekatvam anupashyatah. For the one who sees is non-dual. Now for him everything has become the self. Formerly what was taken to be non-self. See, everything outside the body was formerly taken to be non-self because the body was taken to be self. But now when there is no identification of the body, then everything falls in the same category as the body. If this body is the self, then the whole world also is the self, because the body and the world, both of them are in the category of drishya, the seen. And so, tatra ko moha kashokaha. What grief and what delusion can there be in the wise man? And so the second line of the verse said, Krute cha karmani swatma rupena eva esha pashyati. This one knows that the karma, papa and punya are nothing but the self. Ataha swatma abhinnattvadapi atapakatvam iti bhava. And therefore, there are two reasons why the wise man has no worries or anxieties pertaining to the karma. Number one, because he knows the karma and the very karta, the doer, as mithya. And secondly, he knows this karma as not apart from the self. And from both these reasons, there is no worry or anxiety pertaining to karma. And therefore it is said, na bhiveti kutaschana. The wise man has no fear from any source whatever. Meaning that the one who knows the self as Brahman, as Ananda, he is free from fear, meaning free from all the evils. He is free from samsara. Now, another long discussion comes. As you said, the purpose of the text is to clarify many points, technical points. Next is the question. You said that the wise man has already discarded all the punya and papa karma because he sees them as mithya. The question is, how can he even discard them? Nanu nabhuktam kshiyate karma kalpakoti shatairavi. There is a verse in Manusmriti which says that when you perform an action, that action must produce a result which you must experience. This is the rule. The rule is that whoever performs the action must necessarily experience the result. When will the action give rise to a result? No one knows. Meaning that whenever it gives rise to a result. There may be an action which may give rise to a result right away. There may be an action which may give rise to a result sometime in near future. Or it may give rise to a result in next birth. Or may give rise to a result in the next cycle of creation. Or after millions of cycles of creation, suppose an action gives rise to a result, then you must be around until that time to experience a result. This is what is said. Na abhuktam kshiyate karma kalpako. That is how the idea of the transmigration comes. That's the idea of the rebirth, etc. comes, because actions that you perform now, and they will bring about results in the future, and you have to experience the result. And therefore, you keep on taking the birth, but unfortunately, in the very process of even experiencing the result, you perform new actions. And thus, while I am exhausting the result of the past actions, in the very process I am performing new actions, and that is how the whole chain goes on. But here, it is said that abhuktam karma nakshiyate kalpakoti shatairavi. There may be, even for thousands of the cycles of creation, if the result comes after all that long time, then also the action that is performed once will not get exhausted unless its effect is experienced. Okay. Ityadi shastra sadbhavat anadu samsare bahujanmoparjiteshu punya punya lakshaneshu karmasu asankhyatesu aprasiddhatvena atmataya anusandhan ayogyeshu. Then he says, the wise man has become wise in this life, but he has lived countless past lives, because we say that everything in the creation is beginningless, and therefore all the jivas, all the souls are beginningless. That being the case, we keep on passing through the cycle of birth and death countless times. And therefore one may say that for countless number of times one may have taken birth as a human being. This is how, because countless cycles of creation may have gone by, and during those cycles of creation, how many times we have taken birth, how many actions we have performed, and how many all actions are accumulated in our account. So all those accumulated actions called sanchita karma, they are all there in everybody's account, including the account of the wise man. Anadu samsare. This samsara, all this process of birth which is anadi, beginningless. Bahujanma upajiteshu punya lakshaneshu karmasu. In many past births, even the wise man also, before he became wise, has also accumulated so many punya and papa karma. Asankhyatesu, and how many are there? Countless they are. Aprasiddhatvena, and I don't even know. He said, you said that the wise man looks upon the punya, and when he performs the punya papa karma, he looks upon them as a very self. Fine. So, even when a wise man performs action, he knows the actions are being performed, and therefore, maybe he can look upon them as a very self. But how about the actions that have been performed in the countless past lives about which we don't even have any knowledge? That's another problem everybody has with reference to this birth, rebirth. That if I am born, if I had a past birth, then how come I do not remember? This is another problem. If I had a past birth, then how come I do not remember? I can believe that I had a past birth, provided I can remember what I was in the past birth. I said, do you remember everything in this birth? Do you remember that you were born? And do you remember that you were 1 day old or 1 month old? Or how you were at that time? You have no memory at all. Nobody has a memory of when you were born, or what you were when you were 6 months old or something like that. Perhaps at the age of 2 or 3, perhaps the child may perhaps remember something. But just because you do not remember does not mean that you were not there at that time, you were not born. But anyway, the whole problem with the rebirth, with the human mind is, we are accustomed to accept only those things which are perceptible or evident. Particularly having been brought up in the scientific age, where you will believe something which is evident, which can be proven, or which can be demonstrated by evidence. Since you will accept only those things as real, this business of past birth or the future birth is hard to accept, because there is no proof of the past birth, nor there is any proof for the future birth. So far we don't have. It's quite possible the scientists may come up with some methods. A lot of investigation is going on right now, even in the field of psychology also, about these people claiming to remember things that happened in their past birth, and all kinds of things are happening. It is possible that when this research proceeds further, that they may find a method. They may find a method of photography, they say. So you can take a picture of an event that took place 2 or 3 hours before, because whenever an incident happens, it leaves its light waves and sound waves, etc. And if you can catch those light waves on a sensitive film, then you will be able to catch the film of an incident that happened 2 hours ago. So suppose we stretch this to 2 years, and 20 years, and 200 years, and whatever it is, suppose. Nothing is impossible. So when Mahatma, when Swami was saying that it may be possible that we may be able to hear with our own ears the dialogue between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, Suppose science advances that way. It is possible, that you might be able to go back in the past, and then you may have the proof of the past birth and things of that sort. At the moment we don't have any proof. They may be able to go in future also, who knows. Today we use astrological charts in order to, perhaps guess what the future would be, but they may find out, who knows. Because future I don't know how you can find out, but the past is feasible. But anyway, apasiddhatvena, since I don't even know how many past births, countless past births I must have gone through, countless actions I must have performed. Of them naturally there will be countless which are punya karma, countless which are papa karma. I don't even know what they are. See, when I know the actions that I am performing now, I can look upon them as a self. But how can I look upon the actions which I performed in the past as a self or as mithya? And therefore a self. Atmataya anusandhan ayogyeshu. It is not possible for one to look upon all those past actions which are not even known to us as a self. Katham tad vishaya chinta na bhave. And therefore, how do you say that even a wise man will be free from the worries or anxieties pertaining to action of the past? This is the answer. Number one, this is a question rather, doubt. Number one, it is said that an action will not get exhausted or will not be destroyed unless its result is experienced, either in this birth or in any future birth. And therefore, the one who is wise man now would have performed the actions in the past, and therefore he would have to experience them also. And secondly, you say that the wise man looks upon the punya papa karma as the very self, but when he does not know what punya and papa karma he has performed in the past, how can he look upon them as a self? And therefore, how do you say that even a wise man also will be free from the worries or anxieties about the karma? Just a technical question to clarify the points. These doubts arise in our mind. Na chinta janakatvam. The answer is that all those actions are destroyed as far as a wise man is concerned. How? Just as the actions performed by the dreamer are all destroyed for the waker. And similarly, the wise man never performed the actions. Who performed the actions? The ego performed the actions. And what's the status of the ego? The ego is false. It has no more any reality. And that being the case, the wise man says, I didn't perform any action. Which I? The I which is the witness self, that never performed the action. So knowledge is, I am the self, that is the witness, which never performed the action, which does not perform the action, which will not perform the action. That is the knowledge of the self that the wise man has. And therefore, tattvajnanena tesham sanidananam vinashitvad. By tattvajnanam, or the knowledge of the self, the ignorance is destroyed, and therefore that sense of doership, which was a product of ignorance, that also is gone, and therefore all the various actions performed by the doer, they are all of them completely resolved, already in the wake of knowledge. Yas sakshat kurute prabodha samay svatmanam evadvayam. As says Dakshinamurti Stotra, that when one wakes up, then one realizes that the whole world is the self alone. Na chinta janakatvam. And therefore, those mithya karma, all those non-existent karma, are you worried about what you did in the dream? Some people are worried about. But usually you are not worried about the actions you performed in the dream, or you didn't perform them. Some people worry, what happens? I did this in the dream, what does it mean? So maybe they want to know what the meaning of the word, the dream is. But certainly I don't consider myself as guilty for what I did in the dream, because I didn't do them. The dreamer did it, and the dreamer is no more. And similarly also the wise man knows that all the past actions I never performed, and therefore he is not worried about the consequences of those past actions, because they do not touch him. Iti abhiprayana, with this opinion or this idea in mind, hruday granthya nivrittiparam mundakadi shrutishu stham vakyam pathati. This is a very famous mantra from Mundaka Upanishad that is quoted in many texts. We saw it being quoted in Vedanta Sara. In a few days we'll see this being quoted in the Drugdrishya Viveka. And today we see it being quoted in the Paṃcadaśī also. This mantra from Mundaka Upanishad, which says how the wise man becomes totally free from all the bondage of actions. Because Hruday Granthyadi, because the Granthi or all the complexes and knots of the heart are all cut asunder. And this is what the Mundaka Upanishad says, and that very same statement is quoted here without any change in the verse 7th. भिद्यते हृदय ग्रंथिः भिद्यते हृदय ग्रंथिः छिद्यन्ते सर्व संशयाः छिद्यन्ते सर्व संशयाः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि तस्मिन् दृष्टे परावरे तस्मिन् दृष्टे परावरे. तस्मिन् दृष्टे परावरे. तस्मिन् परावरे दृष्टे, seventh case. Tasmin, seventh case of tat. Drishte, seventh case of drishta. Paravare, seventh case of paravara. Tasmin, paravare, drishte, seventh case. And one of the applications of seventh case is called Sati Saptami. Meaning, the seventh case is used in the sense of, in the denoting the time when this happens. So, tasmin drushte paravare. Rame agate sati. When Rama came. That's how they say. Here also, tasmin paravare drushte. When that paravara is seen or known. What is paravara? The commentator explains here in the paravare paramapi hiranyagarbhadikam padam avaram nikrishtam yasmat tasmat paramatmani dushte sakshat krite. On the page 369, the first line. Paravare is, this word is made up of para and avara. Para means superior and avara is inferior. So paravara is, even the superior is inferior with reference to what? Even the superior also is inferior with reference to what? It's called paravara. Para, superior, avara, inferior. Paramapi hiranyagarbhadikam padam. Even the most exalted state of hiranyagarbha, of the creator, or the totality of all, that which is the repository or the abode of all the knowledge and all the power and all the action and all the desires, that is called hiranyagarbha. Even that most exalted state, paramapipadam, avaram nikrustam yasmat. Even that most exalted state also is inferior compared to what? Compared to the nirguna Brahma. So what we call saguna Brahma, or Brahma with all the attributes, which is the most exalted with reference to the attribute, the world with attribute, even that also is inferior with reference to which? Nirguna Brahman. That Nirguna Brahma or Brahman without the attribute is called Paravaram. And that is Paratma, meaning that Paramatma, that limitless soul, limitless self. When Drushte Sakshat Krute, when that Paramatma, the soul that is, the self that is limitless, is seen, meaning is known as immediately as the very self, then Sakshatkara means when one has immediate knowledge that the self is none but the total self or the limitless self, which is most exalted as compared, which is more exalted as compared to even the most exalted thing. Meaning when one discovers oneself as a limitless, superior to anything else is inferior to what? That self is discovered as the very self of oneself. Then what? Asya hridaya grantihi bhidyate. Then all the hridaya granthi, asya sakshatkar vatah, of this person who thus has this direct or immediate knowledge. Hridayasya grantihi, hridayasya buddhehe chidatmasya granthivad dra samshlesha rupatvad grantihi anyonya adhyasah. See, we have been talking about this granthi, talking about the knot, or talking about the union between the heart or the mind and the self. The chit jada granthi, the union between the conscious and the inert, the spirit and the matter, or the self and the non-self, or the witness and the mind, a union between the two. How can that union be? Anyonya adhyasaha, on account of the mutual superimposition. It is also a prakriya. This whole idea of mutual superimposition also is a model to explain us that which is inexplicable anyway. Just as a space cannot in any way be tied to a part, space cannot be confined by a part or bound by a part, and still somehow the idea of a part space gets created in our mind because we superimpose the limitation of the part upon the space. And similarly also the self that is limitless can never in any way be tied with the mind, and still somehow the limitation of the mind is superimposed upon the self, and the existence and the reality of the self is superimposed upon the mind of the ahankara, and this is how we have so chaya ahankara yorekyam taptaya pindavan matam. We saw in the drugdrishya viveka that the identity between the ahankara and the reflected consciousness is comparable to the identity or union between the iron and fire. They become as though inseparable, or they become indistinguishable from each other. And similarly also, this ahankara and the reflected consciousness there is a union, and therefore it is impossible to separate them. This is called hridaya granthi. This is called the granthi, or the union, or the knot of the self and the non-self. Why is it called a knot? Knot is, dhruva samshlesha rupatva. What is a knot? When two things are so closely joined that they cannot be separated, that is what we call knot, K-N-O-T. And similarly also here, that ahankara and the sakshi seem to be so tightly united that you cannot separate them. Therefore, this notion of the sense of individuality or the sense of the limited self is called a granthi or a complex. Call it a complex. Anyonya adhyasaha. The footnote here explains this nicely. Param avyakrudam yasmat avaram syat chidatmanah drashte tasmin ahankara chito granthir vividyate. He said that when you see the self as a self and the non-self as a non-self, when that viveka or discrimination arises in the mind, when the mind becomes subtle and pure and thus is able to discriminate between the self and the non-self, then that knot is cut asunder. Ahankarasya kartrutvam chiti adhyasya. The kartrutvam or the doership that belongs to ahankara, that is superimposed upon the chit or the self, tatha chitah spurtim cha ahankritau. And the reality and the consciousness, which is the nature of the self, is superimposed upon the ahankara, and therefore the ahankara is taken to be conscious as well as a real, and the doership of the ahankara is superimposed upon the self, and therefore the self is taken to be the doer. Granthim kuryat maya tayoho dhram. Who does this? Who does this superimposition? Who brings about the superimposition between the ahankara and the self? The doership and the limitation that belongs to ahankara is superimposed upon the consciousness, and the reality and the consciousness that belongs to the self is superimposed upon the ahankara, and thus the ahankara is taken to be self, and self is taken to be limited. Who brings about this kind of union? Maya kuryat. It is Maya that does it. Meaning, it happens. Maya meaning that which cannot be explained. So somehow this union cannot be explained, but then we find it to be so. Bhinne grantho vivekena. When by the discrimination, grantho bhinne, when this granthi or this complex or this knot, it is cut asunder, then all these samshayaha, in yourself, all the doubts are also resolved. So that's how, coming back to the commentary, the commentator says that this granthi or the knot is cut asunder, meaning all the complexes. I am a doer, I am an enjoyer, I am happy, I am unhappy, Each one of these statements represents a union between the self and the non-self. When I say that I am happy, then I is the self which is witness, and happy is the state of mind. And I say I am happy, which means that the self and the non-self are united. When I say I am man, man is the characteristic of this body, and I is the self. When I say I am man, that also represents a complex, which is a union between the self and the non-self. So every idea that we entertain about the self, happy and wonderful, beautiful, all of these, because what belongs to the mind is superimposed upon the self. Wise man becomes free from all this complex. Meaning when the wisdom becomes really mature, then one becomes totally free from all the complexes. Meaning all the knots of the complex of the heart, all of them are cut asunder. Then the second quarter of the seventh mantra says, Chidyante sarva samshayaha. Sarva samshayaha chidyante. Sarva samshaya, all the doubts are also dispelled. Whatever doubts one had, all the doubts get dispelled. No doubt remains. Here the commentator presents many doubts. Atma dehadi vitirikto nava. First doubt. Is there a self which is different from the body or not? Is this body the self, or is there a self that is different from the body or separate from the body? First doubt. Why such a doubt? Because again, we only accept the perception. We don't see the self. What we see is the body. In what we see, the body also is conscious. And naturally, therefore, one takes the body to be the self. Therefore, this doubt arises. Is there a self apart from the body? Nobody would accept it. Scientists will not accept. They will accept only this body which is perceptible as a self. Because I always say that I am the body, I am tall, I am short, and so forth. I am sitting, I am walking, I am talking. All of these are nothing but the conclusions derived from the body as a self. So first doubt. Secondly, Vyapiriktobi kartrutvadi dharma yogi nava. All right. Suppose you understand that the self is different from the body. Then other doubts will arise. What is the self? Doer, enjoyer, happy, unhappy, or not? Self is separate from body, all right, but then is the self happy or not? The happiness, unhappiness, doership, enjoyership, are these attributes of the self or are these not? The next step is, the self is akarta. He is not an agent, he is not an enjoyer, he is not a doer. Okay. Akartrutvevi tasya brahmanah bhedah asti nava. Alright. You say that the self is the non-doer, non-enjoyer, not an agent. But still, is the self the same as Brahman or different from Brahman? Further doubt. First doubt, is body the self or is there a self separate from the body? Suppose one understands the self is separate from the body, then the question is, that self that is separate from the body, is it a doer, enjoyer, happy, unhappy or not? Then you understand that, okay, the self is neither happy, nor doer, non-enjoyer, it is attributeless. Okay, the self is attributeless. But then, is it the same as Brahma or not? Is it the same as the universal self or not? Or all the selves different? Tasya brahmanah bhedah asti nava. Okay, this attributeless self also, is it separate from Brahman or not? Then someone says, self is not separate from Brahman. Self itself is Brahman. Okay. Then, abhedevi tadjnanam karmad sahitam mukti sadhanam kevalam va. Next doubt is, suppose the self is the same as Brahman. I am Brahman. But then, how do I get moksha or liberation? Merely by knowing that I am Brahman, do I get liberated? Or having known that I am Brahman, do I have to do something? In order to make this knowledge firm or to help support the knowledge, is some kind of a meditation or some kind of ritual required to support the knowledge, or the knowledge independently is the means for moksha or liberation. So many doubts are there. They are all doubts pertaining to knowledge. So all these doubts are resolved when one's self is known truly as it is. Ityadaya samshayaha chidyante dvaidhi kriyante. All these doubts are cut asunder. All of them are, no doubt remains. How come no doubt remains when the knowledge takes place? Says here, tatvatah sakshat krutasya vastunah samshaya viparya vishayatva adarsanadri bhavaha. That it is our common experience that when we see something very clearly, see, as long as I did not see the rope clearly or properly, so long as, is this a snake or a rope or a garland? What is it? All these doubts can be there as long as the rope is not known clearly. But once you show the torch right there and the rope is clearly seen as rope, then no doubts remain. Tatvadaha sakshat krutasya vastunah. Of anything that has been immediate, that has been clearly seen, samshaya viparya vishayatva adarshana. Then no doubts remain and no errors remain. It is our experience that whenever clear knowledge takes place, then all the doubts are resolved, all the errors are also resolved. And similarly also, when the clear knowledge of self takes place, all the doubts and errors are eliminated. So, bhidyate hrudaya grantihi. All the complexes are cut asunder. Chidyante sarva samshayaha. All the doubts are dispelled. Kshiyante cha asya karmani. The third thing that happens to the wise man, which is relevant to this particular discussion, is asya karmani kshiyante. All the karma, all the actions, sanchitani, all the actions accumulated in the past, punya, punya lakshanani, all the various actions that can be categorized as punya and apunya, meaning as virtue and vice, all these actions which have been accumulated in the past, kshiyante, all of them get exhausted, meaning all of them get destroyed. Swanidana ajnana vinashena vinashchanditi. We have explained it earlier that all the actions were performed by the ego, and when the ego itself is falsified in the wake of the knowledge of self, then all the actions performed by the ego are also falsified, and therefore the wise man becomes free from the past actions also. And therefore, one need not worry about the past experiencing or exhausting the past accumulated action. It is countless. So if you think that by taking subsequent births I will be able to exhaust all the actions, that one can never do, because they are countless. And in the very process of exhausting action, one accumulates new action. Therefore, it's not possible to exhaust them. The only way to become free from this action, bondage of action, is by the knowledge of the self that is actionless. And that's how the wise man has no worry about the past action, no worry about the future action, no worry about the present action, because there is no kartrutvam, no doership at all. Therefore, it doesn't perform an action, so that there is no question of worrying. And he did not perform the action in the past also, because the one who performed, the ego, is no more there, meaning he is no more real. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.